Subculture Talk. You can't see me, apparently. Thank you, microphone. Thank you, camera. But I am Pat66. I am here somewhere. But I'm not the star of this show anyway. I'm just the host. My stars tonight are Unheard Sirens Incorporated, a band that I have been playing since I came back on the air in 2017. And they just keep getting better and better with every release. So I've got Juliet and Remy in the studio with me tonight. How are you doing, folks?
Hey, we're doing great, Pat. How are you?
Well, I'm all right. I'm just invisible.
It's a good talent.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm proud of that. I need to do that more often.
I'd like to have that talent. Yeah.
So, first of all, thank you very much for being on the show tonight.
Absolutely.
Thanks for having us.
Oh, it's my pleasure. There we go. I exist again. So, a thing that I like to kind of ask everybody when they first come on the show is what I call the supervillain origin story. So, how did you all get involved, each of you? How did each of you get involved in music? Not just in making it, but even like, why did you join the dark music scene to begin with? And then why ultimately did you decide to make music in it?
Would you like to start or would you like me to start?
Well, I guess I'll start this time. We just started doing our own podcast, so we've gotten pretty good at like looking at ourselves tiny on a camera icon and chatting a lot. So I got really into music by college and started my second year of college. I went to a really cool little hippie Quaker school called Guilford that had a very good radio station, WQFS 90.9, coming out of Greensboro, North Carolina. And I got a radio show my second year of college, and I hosted for 6 years, 3 years of college and 3 years after. And Guilford was amazing and full of pacifists and activists and really thoughtful people and a lot of hippies. There was a lot of bongos, a lot of patchouli, not a lot of various kinds of deodorant. And I love them. I love all of them, and they are my people too. I'm sometimes been accused of being a goth hippie, and I proudly am. Very like earth-centered. I teach meditation and make pop music from an alternate universe. So I was very compatible with Guilford in some ways, but I still found myself being the kind of misanthrope. Like, I just had such an outsider sort of psychology that, like, amongst all the hippies, I had to become the goth. And so I was like one of the only kids wearing makeup at school, male or female, and wearing fishnets. And I had my little like leather lunchbox that could double as a weapon. That was my purse, and like black lipstick. And I was like DJing the like electronica, industrial underground. I became a big raver because I love dancing and I love music. So even before there were goth nights, there were raves. And there was a pretty cool little underground scene happening across North Carolina at that time. So I just ended up getting to know a lot of the promoters, the DJs, event producers, the people running the venues, and being a real regular in the rave scene, which eventually started morphing into like house and deep house and trance and techno, and then it was like goth started to be much more of a term people were using for some of the underground, dark, spooky, synthy, industrial stuff that was happening all through the 90s towards the early 2000s. And I moved across country to do my master's in New Mexico and really sought out more goth and industrial clubs and tried out the scenes in like LA and San Francisco, which was a favorite scene of mine to visit. And after having DJ'd for 6 years, I got familiar with a lot of music. And my bachelor's and master's degrees were in music. And so after I finished my master's, I could like maybe go pursue continuing to teach and then continuing to perform like art songs and arias and opera and maybe musical theater. And I did a lot of thinking my first year after my master's in voice and was like, you know, I'm not really interested in reproducing things that somebody thought was really awesome like a really long time ago. I'm much more interested in being alive right now. And even if it's difficult and a little confusing, I think I'm just going to make my own music now. And I joined my first band moving to Charlottesville, Claire Quilty, in 2003. Ha ha. I was like 5 at the time. And don't date me, don't do the math. But anyway, I joined Clear Quilty in 2000.
Okay, here's the thing.
They recently opened for Susie and the Banshees.
I was already like, I was already getting into, like, I was DJing at that point, and I remember Claire Quilty flyers. So to date you, I have to date myself. So
there we go. Now we're all dated. And I remember my first basement of Tokyo Rose for the goth night scene in Charlottesville. I got there just before that venue stopped hosting that event, and got to a few of the basement parties, which was amazing. I sort of saw the very tail end of a very special, amazing little goth scene that was nurtured by Tokyo Rose.
Oh, okay, because like my band was actually the last goth band to play that venue, so that you caught us on stage. I'm sorry.
I did. I caught you on stage. I saw you guys also at the Jefferson Theater.
Oh, so you saw me crab walk across the stage. I'm double sorry.
And by that point, I knew you guys. I think you were living together on like Observatory Hill or whatever at that time.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember that show too. So I started playing with Claire Quilty. We were doing some touring. They were releasing their 3rd album at the point that I joined the band. And we had stuff like hit number 33 in the Billboard charts for dance music, for like electronica and dance. And I started taking music pretty seriously at that point. And it's hard to make a living at it, but it's not hard to be really thoughtful and serious about the fact that you want to create good music with good people. So I've just kind of been on that path since then. Yeah. I'll maybe leave the story there because that's sort of the good origin, I think.
Yeah. My origin, I was just listening to heavy music, and at some point, I was a filmmaker first, and at some point I switched and said, what if I tried this music thing? I had no experience in it. I'm like, I felt very, as when you're listening to music and not making music yet, you get very, you're like, feel very inadequate. You're like, I can't make music. And then I discovered punk rock, and it was like, oh, well, I can do that. And so formed my first punk band, Freak Flag, which, Pat, you may remember. As,
I played you on Subculture Shock, yeah.
And my close cohort in that band, the lovely Bryce Little, a.k.a. Demi Matic.
R.I.P.
R.I.P. The great Demi Matic. Yes, he died of complications of AIDS in 2011. And at that point, I knew Freak Flag was done. We had some little demos that we recorded on like tiny inch recorder thing, and that was the only version we had of these songs we've been working on. So we just released that as our final album and called it Freak Flag is Dead. And so I knew that was the close of that chapter. And at that point, slowly, about a couple years after that, I formed the first version of this band, which was called US. And it was kind of a little bit more experimental, industrial. I was taking a lot of influence from stuff like Public Image Limited, but also with kind of like rougher beats and stuff like that. And so, yeah, and then eventually we reconnected. We kind of initially knew each other when I was in Freak Flag with Bryce. We kind of met through Bryce.
Yeah, Bryce was like one of my dearest best friends. So I came to like every one of their shows they ever had in Charlottesville. So I saw this guy like a number of times. And like, well, hey, what's up?
And so we kind of reconnected, and she saw my profile through Match.com in 2015 and was like, she initially...
It totally changed his look, and it was like those little micro photos where you have like everybody up on your screen. And I was like, oh, what's that? Click. Oh, I know him. Oh, busted. I know this person. I felt like, oh... So yeah, so I sent him a message because one of the things he was wearing was a shirt of Bryce that he made where Bryce looks like young Robert Smith. He looks very much like early Cure, Head on the Door.
Yeah.
Era, like tribute shirt. And I was like, oh my God, is that Bryce? Because it, something we had in common, and he would have seen I'd visited his profile anyways, like might as well chat at this point. Plus your profile was...
You've done the deed, like...
Yeah, might as well just go there. So then pretty quickly he was like, yeah, it is. Oh my gosh. And we chatted a little bit online, and I kind of quickly asked him out, and then he agreed, and we got together. And after our first date, we were like, why did this take us 6 years? Oh God, we're so compatible.
So we started dating, and a couple of years, maybe a year and a half in, I popped a question. And around that same time, I don't know if it was before or after, I kind of like offhandedly asked, what if you wanted to join US? Not expecting her to say yes, because she was busy with with
I had
getting her
meanwhile
degree.
founded I worked on a PhD, had a full career, and after 2008 founded Phoenix Noir, which was my sort of dark wave.
Another band I played on Subshock.
Yes, we were proudly, happily on Subshock, even when you were back on the radio days. So Phoenix Noir had been around for a long time, and that was a big commitment.
You were doing Phoenix Noir and all that. And so I wasn't expecting her to say yes, and she was just like, sure. I was like, all right, well, I guess we're a band now. And so US was the two of us at that point. So
I think we're a band now.
Exactly.
I think we're a band, exactly.
Yeah.
And so we played our first gig was our wedding.
I guess we're gonna.
Okay. That is the sweetest story, though, that your first gig was your wedding. I didn't know that part. And
we called it a wedding gig.
Yep.
Wow.
And it was on Friday, December 30th, and we did like a big 1920s Gatsby party, and we hosted at the Annie Room, and people could buy tickets like normal, and people won tickets off the radio that had no idea it was a wedding too. And Phoenix Noir played, Butterfly Medetta, his other band played, and then US played its premiere. Our friend married us, and then instead of saying our vows, we wrote a set of music. We played our first songs together. We were like, oh my God, we're both used to minor keys and dark themes. How do we write a love song?
Yeah. So
we had to figure it out.
The pop seeds were being planted then. It took us several years after that and a name change and us being Unheard Sirens Incorporated to figure out, for so long, we're like, what the hell are we? We've never been goth. We've always kind of circled around goth adjacent, exactly.
Phoenix Noir was definitely darkwave rock. I also called it trip rock because it was heavily influenced by trip hop, but we produced everything live. I never had loops. I never had backing tracks. But I always wanted to play goth nights and perform with goth bands and perform with rock bands and perform with metal bands and just sort of embrace multiple genres. And you were doing punk, and then you were doing experimental and industrial, and we were like, what the hell is our genre?
I went through that requisite when you get into punk and get into music. You have that 2 years where punk is all you listen to, and then you get bored with that, and you're like, what's next? And then I was like, that's the kind of serendipity of coincidence in my life is the musical influences. I say, I'm looking for something that's kind of like punk, but definitely isn't punk. And I discovered Public Image Limited, and I'm like, that. And then we're starting playing with retro pop themes and stuff like that, and kind of our recent stuff. And a couple albums ago, Regeneration, we kind of made stuff that kind of sounded like a bit like the 80s, a bit like the 90s, and then we discovered this whole synthwave scene that's going on. That's all 80s inspired stuff, but it's taking it a step further and doing it with the production elements. And we're like, yeah, that's where we fit right there. So it's been a journey.
So you kind of nailed where I was going to go next, which is the evolution of sound. Because the thing that I noticed that from the very first album I got from you when you were just US was one thing. Actually, segue real quick, because you said that you've never really considered yourself a goth band. I have not heard a single band call themselves goth in the past 15 years. Everyone is. Everyone is either cold wave or dark wave or post-punk. And the fact of the matter is that goth has survived by taking all of these genres and subgenres and grafting onto itself like a Frankenstein's monster. So you may not be right there in the heart, but you're at least like a thumb or a kidney somewhere. So you're included in the goth.
On the edge.
Right, exactly. Yeah. But when I say we're not goth, it's not that we're not fans of other stuff that's goth adjacent or dark wave or whatever. But we say that because we've never written a song about shadows. We've never written a song about graveyards. That's not
zombies.
It's not what we play in. We're not. You know what I mean? So
yeah, there's some sort of stereotypes about it that don't really overlap, but then there's so much more to the dark underground scenes. Yeah. And all of that does overlap, and all of that does feel like home base to us. And I've always wanted to play all the goth nights, but I've been afraid to call myself goth in some ways. It's are you a con-carrying member? We heard you like the sun.
Yeah, exactly. The left of field, the subculture mentality has always been there. Yeah. I may not be playing punk music anymore, but the punk mindset is very much still there of I'm gonna do it, we're gonna do what we want, fuck you, I won't do what you tell me. That's always
Yep.
Counterpoint,
you and me, punk rock girl.
Counterpoint, the first single I played of yours on Subculture Shock when I came back was called "The Death of Glitter."
Yes.
And if that's not a goth song name, I don't know what is.
And it's about losing Bryce.
Yeah, that was a tribute song.
So there you go.
Because he was like glitter turned into a human being. He just like sparkled and shimmered and lit up all our lives. And losing him was like the death of glitter. So that's where that song came from. And Bryce himself was very goth. And Remy did something in that track that I love, which is turn the electric bass into a lead instrument and play it like a guitar. And he wrote this dreamy Cure-like line. The way he plays the bass as a guitar in the whole song.
Hold the fuck up.
Like a Cure element, and it just in part that's because of how much Bryce and me, but Bryce loved the Cure, so it is maybe the most goth song that we've written because of who we wanted to celebrate and the music he loved. We wanted the song itself to evoke the music that our friend adored.
That was a bass and not a guitar?
That was a bass. There's no guitar.
Hot damn.
Yeah.
All right, well, there we go. That's roll credits. That's the fun fact of the day. We're good. Yeah.
Play that for the folks at home.
Yeah. Boom, boom, boom. All right. So what I was getting at, though, is that, you've definitely gone through a bit of a metamorphosis, because even Regeneration wasn't quite the album. Like, it definitely wasn't pop quite like the way that you're making what you're making now. It's almost like that transition from who you were to where you're going, but you didn't quite get there yet. Yeah.
That album was all about transformation. We were going through periods of transformation in our lives, not only with the sound of the music, but like just personally.
Our outside the music world life. Yeah.
We had to kind of decide who we wanted to be next, and I was very influenced by my favorite TV show, Doctor Who. The main character of that show, if you don't know, basically anytime they need to cast a new actor in that part, they have the character who's an alien just become a big beam of light and transform into the next actor. So that whole theme of like transforming yourself, decided to like apply that to actual life, because how many different versions of ourselves are we throughout our lives while still being the same person? That whole theme.
I don't know what you're talking about. I've never changed.
Exactly the same. But that's why I picked the name Phoenix Noir, because I'd already been through several incarnations in my life, and I'd been through these times when it felt like I sort of had trial by fire to go on living. Like, really bad things happened and really hard things happened, and I just kind of had to rise up from the ashes and keep going with my life. And that's why I picked Phoenix Noir as the name in 2008. And also the film noir notion, like putting the Phoenix and the film noir kind of together as sort of the aesthetical inspiration for that band, because of those themes of light and dark in film noir. It was always about black and white and shadows, and under-heroes, anti-heroes were sort of born in that genre, and all the sort of femme fatales of the like danger of female power being alluring and positive and not just denigrated but celebrated. All of that was kind of going behind what I'd been doing musically since 2008. So when he was like, our next album, I've got it all figured out. It's going to be called Regeneration. I didn't even think of the Doctor Who piece, because for me, I was thinking about like the Phoenix piece and how many changes I've been through in my life and how much we talk about our lives together, and as friends and as partners, as romantic couples, married people, all these ways that we chat, and we're grappling with growing and morphing into the most honest versions of ourselves that we figured out how to be yet.
Mighty Morphin Rockstar Rangers.
Exactly.
Yes. He wants us to like invoke rings of power in the next album.
All right, I'm here for that. So the thing is, though, is that even watching you all change in Regeneration, I admit that I was not expecting Renegades of the Portal. That still felt like completely from left field, but it was also this like bright, fresh, like breath of fresh air that I feel like, the music scene needs right now. Because even you reference synthwave, but even synthwave is like pulling backwards a lot and putting and mostly it's the production value that's changing. And I don't feel like that's the case in Renegades of the Portal.
Yeah, we kind of can't help it. Like we take in. I guess we're just different kind of musicians.
We're not good at staying in boxes.
We're not good at staying in boxes, and we
suck at it.
We take influence from things, but like so many other musicians, I find take influence from something, and they usually make like a carbon copy of that thing or something that's very close to it, to where you can tell, oh, they're influenced by Joy Division, they're influenced by whoever the fuck. But like, we take influence from stuff, but then we'll create something that maybe kind of has tinges of that, but then like I'll incorporate something like, what about this thing? What about, I don't know. It's just like, I always like, let's put peanut butter on a hot dog and see what happens. Let's put this industrial beat over this synth line and see what happens. You know?
Yeah, we still have this experimental, multi-genre kind of punk, we do what we want ethos behind our work. And we want to be enough, friendly enough to the genre that we can be included in compilations comfortably, because it's like,
to please the algorithm.
Yeah, we have to like fit somewhere to try to get the sound out in a bigger way. And so we're trying to like connect with other people and other fans and other bands that have enough. It's like the Venn diagram thing. It doesn't have to be 100%, but there just has to be the right amount of overlap. And it seemed like a space we could create in.
Yeah.
But we just make the song that wants to be made. Like, it's not about a genre or an imitation or a reproduction of something from before. Like we put all these elements together, and then we're like, well, what else? Okay. And then how do the vocals fit with this? And then what other lines, and how does the arrangement work? And it's just the song that wants to get made. And yeah, I can't stay in a box to save my life.
So, all right, that's actually an interesting question, though, is that you just said it's almost like the song writes itself. It's the song, the song wants to be made.
Yeah.
And yet, there's a lot of tight cohesion of theming in each release. Which is impressive, because you've got two different people writing the music, two different people writing the lyrics. How do you get... Does it just happen naturally, or do you sometimes have to like look at a song in relation to other songs and kind of tweak it a little bit so that it fits the other ones?
Well, the last few albums and the one we're about to release next year, there's definitely a kind of a conscious effort to kind of put some sort of theming around it. Actually, the one we just did, Renegades of the Portal, was kind of an accident. The one we're about to release was the one that was supposed to come after Regeneration, but we ended up creating this different material that was like, there was the story developing. The transformation we went through on Regeneration kind of became this very concept kind of about us being interdimensional travelers and finding each other in the multiverse and like in different incarnations. And so that's kind of where Renegades of the Portal came from, and it's our mythology about all the freaks and weirdos kind of coming together to change the world, essentially, and stop it from sinking into the dystopia that we are currently sinking into.
And part of that was just from thinking about how to help music get out there now, and social media, and how things are evolving. The pandemic's been happening, things aren't happening in person, so it's even more about social media and and Twitch and TikTok and Instagram and Facebook and whatever. Like, how do things happen? How do you connect with your people? Who are the people we want to connect with? And defining ourselves more clearly for us to know, and defining our audience more clearly so that we could like try to really reach other people and move them, and create art that mattered in some way to other people. And asking those questions kind of led us more into the story of Renegades of the Portal, that this mythology that we are these characters, the Empress and the Rockstar, sort of lived all these lives, and in many incarnations we were able to find each other. And this time we both like bumbled through a portal and somehow woke up on Earth, and then here we are in this really kind of surreal, broken, very troubled, challenging world. And there are a lot of people that have woken up here and they're like, am I an alien? How did I get here? Why is it like this? Why are things so bad? Like, we could do some pretty simple things and make it so much better. And there's, you know, we've known the Misfits and Weirdos and been part of them our whole life. And it was like, well, those are our people. Those are the renegades. You know, that then the mythology story could be that many of us are aliens and we just pop through a portal and end up on this very strange planet where things are very broken. And part of what you were saying, Pat, about hearing this, this positivity or this hope starting to come through in the album is because, like, yeah, we find ourselves in a pretty broken world with a lot of disturbing stuff happening all the time coming at us. And it's like, but we want to do something about it. Like, we don't just want to write things about the pain. We want to use the pain to make things better and to ourselves to heal and get through things that have hurt us and that are painful about being alive in the world, and then to make art that matters to other people. And a lot of that really came from talking about who do we want to connect with and what do we want to do? Why do we think our work would matter? In what way might it matter? So we became a lot more conscious and had a lot of conversation about what should it mean. And we'd write things up and show them to each other. And then we'd write up themes we thought we'd want to be covering in certain songs. And, you know, I've had friends that have known me for years that are like, oh, I like that song, this part that you wrote, da 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 da, these lyrics, those really spoke to me. And I love it because sometimes it's what Remy wrote. they totally think it's like character signature me. Those must be what Juliet wrote for those lyrics. But it's Remy. Like, sometimes he just writes stuff and I'm like, yeah, exactly, I would totally yes. So we had some interesting mind meldy post-pandemic, like, merging of the mind, like the little binaries, you know? So, like, I sometimes feel like, you know, we've had a lot of conversation about stuff, and then the art that pops out, like, it can pop out of him. It still feels like me, though. Like, there was just a lot of merging that occurred. That was surprising.
Yep.
There's so much that I can plumb from what you just said there. So first of all, that is the most punk rock approach to marketing that I've ever heard. Because so there's this thing that that artists tend to struggle with, which is, you know, you make music for yourself, but also if you're putting it out there, in theory, you want people to listen to it. So how much do you consider the audience? And it sounds like you did consider the audience, and ultimately you were like, well, you know what we want to do? We want to reach people like us. So let's make music. I mean,
that's the thing, Pat. Yeah. Like that is the cheat code that most people take forever to figure out. And honestly, I took way too long to figure out. Is like, I've been taking like student music marketing courses, trying to get ahead of the game and really take this thing seriously. The cheat code really for finding your people is there really are just different versions, hollowed out versions of yourself. It's way easier to do all this quote-unquote marketing, which so many musicians consider an evil word because of, I guess, the capitalistic connotations of that. But really, it's just telling your story, and it's finding the people who are going to relate to the same thing you're talking about. And chances are that's going to be people who are like you. So, yeah.
Yeah, and for me, it's always about the ethics of it. Like, and in what way do we want to be interacting with those other people that we've known? Like, people that have felt a little lost, people that might be like trying to blend and seem totally fine, but inside they're really not feeling fine. Those are also our people. Not just the ones that have shown up on the surface as the freaks and the weirdos, but also the people that are really suffering, trying to fit into this world. And it can be really painful. There's just so much comparison, and for me, you know, part of it is like, well, if we're going to connect with other people like us in the world, but the ones trying to blend and fit into the normals, and the ones that are like, I give up, I'm just a weirdo, deal with it. All of the above, like, in what way do we want to impact them? Like, it's not enough to just know who, but I also wanted to know why. Why are we making this music? Why are we making art? Because we can't help but do it, but we can be intentional and conscientious about it. And that's just where I am as a musician, more so than ever before in my life. And that led to the theming, because it's like we want to have things that we're clearly approaching in different songs from different angles, but that there's something we're trying to get out there. And we're going from just like catchy pop songs to more like anthems. Like, I want stuff that like gets played big, like lots of people, and like to help people, because I just think the world needs a lot of help, and I would like for my work to be helpful.
So it's very refreshing as this being the channel that thinks way too much about other people's music, to find that you all thought way too much about making it.
Yes.
Yes.
I feel like I have found my people here. But
Yeah.
You know, it's so like wonderful to see though, because like the Regeneration was such an album about finding yourself. And I like that the next step of that is, okay, I know who I am. I know what I am. What the hell do I do with this?
Exactly. I see Regeneration, Renegades, and the next album we're going to come out with next year, which is called Can't Stop the Movement. Dancey, upbeat.
Can't stop
moving, and you can't stop the political movement. Yes, double.
And it's all about like social change and
but
political change.
that I see those 3 albums in my head as a trilogy. It's like you find yourself, you find your people, and now you get out and you do something. So yeah.
Damn.
Yeah, we're trying to tell the mainstream so-and-sos, you can't stop the movement. We see your shit. We see your fascist, crazy, xenophobic, homophobic, racist, bullshit crap, and we're having none of it. You cannot stop the movement for change. We are not accepting this. We are not going to sit down and take it. We're going to help make a better world.
You're trying to stand in the way of a tidal wave, trying to stop it from happening, but you can't.
Yeah.
The wave's just going to go over you.
So when you say pop music from another planet or from another dimension, what you really mean is pop music made by people that give a shit.
Basically, yes. Exactly.
Yeah, because that's the portal thing, is like we came from universes that were not this screwed up, and we're like, what is going on, guys? Come on. We should not be hating on each other. Life is too short for that. Like, get it together, y'all. Yeah. So we're just trying to like make music that's like, come on, let's be together and do better than this.
So I guess then I don't know how much you can talk about the new album, because I know it's not done, it's not ready for public consumption yet. But coming into this like with this feeling of a trilogy, does that add any extra pressure to this one?
A bit, but it's all like self-imposed. Like ultimately at the end of the day, like even beyond our own expectations, like you have to realize at the end of the day, especially when you're making music that, like you said, you hope other people actually hear. It's not just for you to listen to. It's not for you. You have to make it with, you not necessarily like make something that displeases you or try and sell out or anything like that, but like perfection is subjective. So like at the end of the day, make the thing that's true to whatever it is you're feeling, and realize that, any little imperfections or whatever that you may hear or things you may have, done differently. First of all, whenever I finish a song or a music or an album or any piece of music or album, I consider it done at that point. I kind of stop nitpicking it. At that point, the album is the album, and it is what it is. And I only nitpick it when it's still at the not released, mixing stage or whatever the hell stage we're at. But even then, it's like, if our music has impacted anybody in any way, then we've done our job, and any imperfections at that point don't exist.
Yeah, and some tracks just write themselves like so fast. Like we've been, geeks in the background thinking about this like too much, a lot, whatever. And then like you get some good stuff going with the tracks and the loops, and you get these great sounds, and sometimes it's just like it just pours out. It just becomes the song. And I'm like, how did that just happen? What just occurred? Who wrote that? Yeah. And then it seems so done. The ones that happen like that, they're just so complete. Like the next single that we've got coming out is Altered Egos, right? And we've already filmed the music video, so we're like finalizing the track for release, finalizing the music video, and like it just wanted to be. He just told me what the title was. He was like, here's a bunch of sounds. We're going to call it a song. Here's the arrangement I've created. I'm calling it Altered Egos. I'm like, what's it about? He's like, I have no idea.
I didn't think you were going to even stick with that title. That was just kind of the
temporary title.
And I was like,
Altered Egos. Whole song came as a download. And I just like wrote the whole thing. It fit to the song. You didn't have to rearrange much of anything. Maybe like extend one thing. Do that for 4 more bars. I've got a little more I want to say. But other than that, it was like no rearranging. And it feels really complete. And I was just like waiting. And it puts together so many conversations I've been having, the work I'm doing in the world, things we talk about. They're just all there. And we've been songwriting a long time. I mean, I started playing music when I was 3 and taking lessons when I was 5, and some of it's getting easier now. And there are other tracks that are like, we do have some pressure on them because they don't necessarily come as like as a single straight download, especially when we're trying to really be collaborative about singing it together, trading off the lead within the song, harmonizing, or both contributing. Then we really have to kind of find our way of like, how's this going to chunk together and how's it going to fit, and what are all the words we want to say and how do we say it in the best way in the song and really express this.
How frustrating is that?
Co-writing is a little more tricky.
Yeah.
How frustrating is that when you have songs that come out, you know, just almost all complete all at once, and then other ones just fight you? Like, do you hit a point where you just have to drop it for a while?
Oh yeah, for sure. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, while certain songs like that are like a complete download, there's definitely
I tell him I can't just do it right now. It's just not coming, and I just cry.
There's definitely some we're working on right now that are like, it's taken a while. This baby wants to stay in the oven for
still,
a
yeah,
little
it's
bit
not done
longer
baking
than
yet.
the requisite 9 months. And so, you know,
Yeah.
so we have a few like that on the next album, but it's all right. It'll come.
We're getting so much closer.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I have a couple times, it's like I felt all the pressure and I just wanted it to come. It wouldn't come. I get so frustrated, and then I finally just break down and cry and talk to him about my process.
But
and
overall,
I needed space.
Like most of the time, it takes me forever to write lyrics. It does. I go through like 5, 6, 7 drafts. Like a few of the songs on Regeneration, like One Way Ticket, took me forever. I rewrote that song like 5 times before I finally settled on the version that I liked. That's kind of why there's 3 different versions of that song on the album, is because that's certain of the drafts sneaking their way in. But on Regeneration, I kind of got into that mode I was just talking about, where it's like, make it for the audience, feel, don't think, because We Are the Renegades was about to become another song like that, and I was like, just write what you're feeling, just put it in there, and it's that one's, then the floodgates opened and it kind of came like a wave and a download at that point. So, you know, every song is different. It's
almost like once you take the pressure off of yourself, the art can actually happen.
Exactly. No, exactly. You got to stop measuring yourself to whatever else is out there, and especially measuring yourself to all the music that's been created in history. Don't ever do that shit, because that's the way musicians get stuck in their own head, and they're producing one song for over 5 years.
So it's funny that you say that, because playing in the background right now, I know you can't hear it, is your song about the Black Star. And about, you know, basically comparing yourself to David Bowie. So
yes.
it sounds like you broke your own rules there.
A little bit. That was kind of me. That song is actually, it's ingrained in the mythology of the kind of the Remy Renegade, the rock star character I'm playing right now. The secret story I never told anybody, but was very kind of like on the nose if you know it. I mean, it's right there in the damn name, Black Star. I never implicitly said, I basically said this is a story about a character who's trying to bring a dead rock star back to life. And left it up to people to figure out. And surprisingly, not a whole lot of people figured it out. But yeah, it's basically me saying I'm one of the people, taking up the mantle of David Bowie, filling that void that is now, lost in the world.
And it's funny that you say that, because I'm going to get a little fanboyish for a second. The thing that I mentioned before, I didn't want to make you self-conscious, but where you can't seem to keep yourself in a box, you have to add a little something to it so that it becomes, okay, this is obviously inspired by synthwave, but it's not quite synthwave. That's a very Bowie thing to do.
Exactly. No. David Bowie is my religion now. I live and breathe to live that kind of life that he had, that kind of creative output where he's constantly shifting, constantly changing, constantly finding new ways to express the creativity. That's the life I want to live. And the way he went out with that fucking masterpiece of an album, Black Star, I'm like, life goals.
Not anytime soon, I hope.
No. Say, I want to leave behind a big
legacy,
whole legacy,
of many decades of amazing.
That's the goal.
Amazing
That's the
work.
goal. So,
God, there, again, so much has come out of this that I'm trying to like pull back to things we were talking about before. So you've gotten very hopeful with your music. Like Regeneration, there was a lot of pain in it, and there's still pain in Renegades of the Portal. But like you've said, there's a feeling of, oh, okay, but we can do something with this pain. Now, obviously, writing a song or writing a pop album for political revolution is complex and difficult, and especially in the times that we live in, where where hope is so far away.
Yeah.
Do you feel? Does it feel almost fake to include hope in that, or is that still? Is there a way to inspire hope without feeling empty?
Right. There is that. That's kind of what we're doing right now, or kind of like dealing with, is like, how do we speak to truth? How do we speak a little bit of truth to power? And how do we give hope without it feeling, again, like too empty, without feeling like, a Hallmark card, for God's sakes.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, that is really, that is the goal, and that's the struggle, but I think we're getting there in a lot of different ways. A lot of it is we got to break out of the dichotomy and the same arguments that people are stuck in. How it has to be this thing or this thing, which is kind of what Altered Egos is about breaking through the duality. There's a lyric in that song, it's not about either or, it's about something more. And so it really is, we're trying to touch this, because there's a bigger picture here that I feel like people get stuck in their modes and they don't see what it is. And that there's another thing going on here, and most of it is honestly down to like empathy. It's down to like seeing what the other person's going through and not getting, I don't know, like because like in our current climate, I don't know how the hell we got stuck in just this weird duopoly, because I swear I remember people,
you got a few hours, I could tell you
what the hell. Like,
yeah.
So
at first he was like, we're gonna have to, Remy was telling me, in the kind of overall emotional kind of source for Can't Stop the Movement for the new album, we're going towards hope, we're going towards empowerment, anthem kind of feeling, but we gotta have some of the anger in there, some of the rage, and I was like, I'm not feeling that. My songs are maybe gonna come from a little bit of a gentler, just more optimistic already. Like, I'm just believing in it. I'm believing in the future. I'm believing in a better world. And then the world's just been catching up with our planning. And in the intervening months, I'm like, I am with you. There's going to be some rage in there. Like, things are really bad. So, I would have just come from where I need to come from genuinely in this anyway, because we are a duo where we can both bring aspects that are different from each other to the band and make it more complex and more interesting, because we're not identical, because we are not the same. And I just want to be honest with whatever I'm creating at this point in my life. But I'm definitely feeling like that being pissed off and wanting to do something about it is feeling very accessible for me more than ever before. I remember I saw Trent Reznor perform with Nine Inch Nails. I think it was the fourth time I saw him live in concert on 2008, the night Obama was elected.
I remember that.
And Muse opened for them, and I was there with Bryce. A lot of good people were there at that show. And Trent was like, I just want to let you all know, as soon as I finish this tour, I'm retiring. Because I've built my whole career on anger, and we finally made it, y'all. We did it. Obama's in office. We got here. We're good. Like, America has finally figured its shit out. And we're good. So I don't need to be an angry musician anymore. I'm going to retire. And he did. He went away, and he married his very hot wife, and they made some music, and he started scoring video games and Pixar films. And he stopped being that angry musician. He's done some reunion kind of, get back up and do tours.
He's like, the world is good. Everything's fine. 8 years later, everything's on fire.
Yeah. And I look back at that moment. That moment has been haunting me. Just watching Trent on stage, he was so joyful. I mean, he was like overflowing with optimism. People really believed at that moment, the night of the election in 2008, that all of us who believe in change and who believe in inclusion and believe in anti-racism work and anti-sexism work and anti-homophobic work that believe in getting to a better world where we love each other and accept each other, and your shit's just not my business. Like, if I'm not doing it with you, why do I care what you're doing if you're not hurting anyone? Like, we thought we got somewhere in 2008, you know, enough that Trent's like announcing his resignation as a musician that night, basically. And he kind of did. He kind of has. But it's like the next generation, we've got to take this up, because like that message he thought that he could give us, we made it, guys. I've believed that in moments in my life. I've thought things were going to get better. And then I've seen these huge backsliding things, you know, the fundamentalism that's been sweeping over the world. It's deeply disturbing. And like, you know, the conflict in Ukraine, what's going on with Russia, like changes in the economy, like trying to outlaw certain words as if a word means a person can't have an identity, like like forbidding language. It's horrifying. I mean, this is like 1984 land. This is, you know, fascism and oppression and extremism, and this is how the Holocaust happened. This is how Hitler came to power, except we have someone that says the same things he did, that was in power, the, you know, Cheeto in chief, very orange man with a terrible toupee. I don't even like to say his name. It's like Voldemort. I'm not even giving power to the name of that being or what he represented, or the people that moved through him as a sort of lizard puppet of Pizza the Hut shapes and proportions. I really detested that man. So that man might come back again. That man might not be done. And like, that horrifies me. I can't, you know, it is disappointing, and I don't want to have false hope, but in my own life, in my own work, I'm trying to find the people who keep me hopeful and surround myself with people who still have hope in various ways, in my friend group and in my work in the world, and that I get paid for, and then, you know, us with each other and with our family. Like, we are just swimming upstream as much as we can, trying to truly find hope and share it with others. But yeah, it's challenging.
I love that ultimately the takeaway that I got from that conversation was Juliet being like, yeah, no, I think I can still remain hopeful. And then the Supreme Court was just, hey, hold my beer.
Yeah.
Like, never mind, I'll be angry with you. Okay, I'm angry.
Yeah.
Yep.
So,
yeah.
So there is at least some other moments to rejoice about. I think we're to the point now where, can I mention the fun project that's coming up?
Please do, please do.
Yeah, I hear that you're working on a cover album.
We are. It's a cover EP, actually, but yes. So we are coming up on the grand Big 4-0, the big 40th anniversary of a synthpop classic from none other than Yazoo, or Yaz as they were known here in the States. Short-lived but awesome synthpop duo Alison Moyet and Vince Clarke, formerly of Depeche Mode. Their debut album, Upstairs at Eric's, came out in 1982, August 20th, 1982. So for the 40th anniversary, in August 20th, 2022, we'll be coming out with EP, tribute EP to Yazoo, Downstairs at JJ's. Eric's.
Because our producer lives downstairs.
Our producer.
Yeah, lives in a basement.
So we're recording it downstairs at JJ's, and they were recording theirs upstairs at Eric's.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
You know, it's funny because there's been a resurgence of Yazoo covers lately. So I gotta ask, which ones are we hearing? Do I get to know? You don't have to tell me the whole track list because I'm sure you want surprise. But like, come on, give me.
Well, what's the first single that's gonna drop?
Well, we're probably gonna. Yeah, I think I'll tell you. We're definitely doing. We're definitely doing "Don't Go."
Of course. Yeah.
And we've got to do "Only You."
Okay, fair enough.
I'm just gonna give you those two. You're gonna have to wait on the rest.
The easy ones. Yeah, no, that's fair. I should have guessed those. I'm ashamed of myself now. I'm gonna go. Hang my head.
You'd be like, oh yeah, that too. Oh yeah, that too.
Yeah.
Actually, when you go into it, you're like, oh wait, there's so many good songs here, and people are like, Yaz what? Yazoo what? And yet they've heard all the songs. You know,
exactly,
they sort of just like impermeated mainstream culture, you know, and kind of like synth geeks all know about them and know the name, but everybody knows the music, especially everybody in the goth scene and in the club scene who loves dance music. People have heard the songs, even if they don't know that these are all by this amazing band.
Hilariously, I actually first discovered Yazoo through a cover. Suspiria covered, goth band from the 90s covered Goodbye 70s.
Nice, yeah.
And someone pointed out to me that was a cover. And I was like, the fuck it is? At which point, I immediately went to my local record store. Remember those kids? And bought a copy of Upstairs at Eric's and was just like, oh, woo!
For those that don't know what a record store is, it's like downloading or streaming music, but you had to go into a building to do it.
Why would I ever do that?
They were on pieces of vinyl or plastic. Yes, anyway.
No, why would I ever do that? That sounds silly.
I know, so silly.
Then I might have to talk to somebody.
I know, right? Who will, look down on you if you have the wrong music taste? Yeah.
Yes. If you don't know about record stores, first go watch High Fidelity and then go watch Empire Records. Please watch both.
Yes.
Don't stop at High Fidelity. Please also watch Empire Records.
Yes.
For all of us who grew up in record stores and hanging around all the cool weirdos there and working in them and selling music.
I don't know what you're talking about. I was the cool weirdo.
Exactly. Because it's like the clients as well as the employees. It's just the entire thing. Like, it was so fun. I mean, now we just have to do it through Zoom. Like, we don't actually get to be in the room with you. But, like, we're still doing this kind of thing. But now we have so much, like, computer in between.
So, all right, there you go. You just cracked the code. You revealed my secret. The whole reason I do Subculture Talk now is so I can continue to have these awkward club conversations that we would always have at Goth Nights, except now I get to have it in my underwear.
There you go.
Yep.
There we go.
There we go.
And the interview just got real awkward. So, you know what? I feel like that's as good a place as any to put a pin in it. But I do have to ask, okay? If pretend that I had never heard of your music before this interview, where do I get your stuff? How do I find you?
Well, we made it pretty easy to find us because I registered the domain unheardsirens.com.
Okay.
Did that sometime last year, I think. Anyway, so yeah, you can find it all there, or unheardsirens.bandcamp.com, where we have all of our music there. You can download it for free, or if you feel like chipping us a few bucks, then you are more than welcome to, especially on those lovely Bandcamp Fridays that they do, where, most, if not all, the proceeds go to us.
I believe the next one's in September.
Nice.
Yeah.
So,
if you look up Unheard Sirens Inc. or Incorporated on YouTube, our station's quite active, and we try to release new video content most Fridays out of the year. We'll be releasing some forms of video content. So, also Spotify and Apple Music and anywhere that singles get dropped, you can find Unheard Sirens Incorporated on any of those places. But it's really nice to have people with us on YouTube because since he started as a filmmaker, we really do have more of a video presence than many bands might, and it's nice to interact and get comments and hear from people and share visuals as well as music. So please do like and subscribe and follow and all those things.
Awesome. And I hear there's also a chance to see you all live sometime soon.
Yes. Indeed. So for the release of the Yaz Covers EP, we're going to be playing a show at a friend's place in a night house in Louisa, which we may make that like a private party kind of thing, but we're also going to be live streaming that on our YouTube channel. So anybody in the world, can join us there live. So the evening of August 20th, that's going down. Then I believe we're playing Holly's Diner. I believe that's going to be happening September 3rd.
First Saturday
in September.
Goth Takeover of Holly's. With Unheard Sirens Inc.
And then that following Wednesday, we're so excited, we're playing for the first time at Fallout.
Woo!
We're Matt Black and Solar Fake in Richmond, so that's going to be fun.
Awesome. Well, Remy, Juliet, thank you very much for joining me this evening.
Absolutely. It was a pleasure.
Yeah, this has been great. I raised my empty water cup. So, for those of you that are listening live, up next is the Afterparty, beatmatched mix show, where I'm going to start off with an Unheard Sirens track and then see what mix develops from there. Live art will be drawn on stream, So stick around for that. If you're watching on YouTube, well, I believe we just learned that there is an Unheard Sirens YouTube channel with lots of content on it. So you know what you're spending the next few hours doing. Go. That's an order.
Do it now.
Yes, we have a playlist. It's Unheard Sirens videos, and you can just watch all of the full-length song
we
music
made it
videos.
very easy for you.
Yes.
Oh, I do like it when you're easy. So, and as always, thanks for joining me here, both Unheard Sirens and also everybody watching. It's been a pleasure, and see you soon.
Let's escape to another time or to the